The paperboys spread the latest edition of Lady Whistledown, announcing the return of London's fashionable set alongside her reappearance. Mrs. Varley warmly greets Penelope and Portia as they step out of their carriage. Portia expresses her pleasure at being back home, which Penelope affirms while observing passerbys engrossed in her pamphlets. Following her mother, Penelope walks past this year's debutantes, including Miss Malhotra and Miss Stowell. At the Modis, Penelope encounters Mrs. Anne Hartigan and Miss Kenworthy, both debutantes. She witnesses Miss Winifred Barragan's amused reaction upon reading about herself in Whistledown's latest column. Penelope notes the thriving state of Genevieve's business, and Genevieve reciprocates the sentiment regarding Penelope's ventures. Violet, Gregory, Eloise, and Hyacinth eavesdrops outside Francesca's bedroom door. Gregory can't hear anything, attributing it to Francesca's awareness of their presence. Benedict arrives, teasing Eloise about her own debut the previous year. Anthony and Kate join them, discussing preparations. Violet requests they quiet the piano downstairs to hear better. Kate suspects Francesca might be the pianist, implying she isn't in her room. Approaching Francesca, Violet leads everyone else. Hyacinth wonders how Francesca left her room unnoticed when Hyacinth had been guarding it all morning. Francesca casually mentions her early morning walk and breakfast, playing down significance. She jests about her readiness with her feather, prompting Anthony's quiet reassurance to Violet, while Benedict humorously points out the appropriateness of Francesca playing Mozart's funeral march. Penelope watches the Bridgertons depart their residence, spotting a group of ladies nearby. The Bridgertons wonder about their conversation. Colin retrieves a dropped glove, gallantly returning it with a kiss to the lady's hand, before rejoining his family, who warms him greatly. As Colin changes in the carriage, Gregory, Benedict, and Anthony eagerly listen to his adventures. Colin vaguely recounts his travels, hinting they've given him a broader perspective. Miss Hartigan is announced and presented to the Queen, followed by Miss Stowell and Miss Livingston. The Queen remains unimpressed, prompting Brimsley to offer refreshments. She suggests a casket instead, jokingly attributing her weariness to their presentation. As more debutantes are introduced, Colin discreetly slips into the room, standing beside Eloise. He compliments her changed fashion, acknowledging it's in vogue this season. Violet prepares Francesca, inquiring about her enthusiasm for her debut. Francesca expressed her anticipation for meeting someone special and managing her own household for peace. Violet cautions her about the potential overwhelming nature of society, but Francesca remains confident. Doors open, momentarily freezing Francesca before she confidently steps forward. Grimsley reminds the Queen of her favourable history with the Bridgertons, and Francesca bows, but the Queen remains unmoved. As debut presentation continues, Colin notices some ladies observing him and playfully winks in their direction. Prudence boasts about her wedding to Harry Dankworth, overshadowing Philippa's to Albion. Albion good-naturedly praises their own wedding's charm, and Harry pledges to marry Prudence repeatedly until she's content, to which Portia humorously interjects about the expenses. Philippa mentions their good timing with Aunt Petunia's passing, causing Penelope to defend their deceased spinster, earning Prudence's sardonic response due to her bookish habits. Portia urges them to enjoy their return to society with financial independence. Concerned about the believability of Aunt Petunia's newfound fortune, Mrs. Varley confides in Portia, and Portia dismisses the concern, noting London's unfamiliarity with Petunia's modest lifestyle. Lady Livingston questioned the Queen's delay in selecting a diamond. Lady Barragan speculates on their daughter's appeal, only to realise their preoccupation with Colin. Miss Goring probes Colin's motives for returning to town. Colin hints at his reluctance to marry immediately, preferring to expect the unexpected. The Featheringtons arrive, with Penelope watching Colin interact with other ladies. She halts upon seeing Eloise, and they exchange glances, interrupted by Cressida's disparaging remark about Penelope's attire. Eloise intervenes, diverting Cressida's attention. They bond over their return from the countryside, finding unexpected friendship. Francesca converses with Miss Malhotra, Miss Livingston, and Miss Hartigan about their marital expectations. Miss Malhotra dreams of a poetic husband who gives her butterflies. Miss Livingston queries Francesca's criteria, to which she simply desires kindness. Alone, Violet questions Kate about handling her new independence. Kate highlights Anthony's duties and their impact on the family's social obligations. They observe Francesca and Eloise, with Violet resigning from meddling in Eloise's affairs post the previous season's incidents. Kate admires Violet's clarity in managing her children and aspires to emulate her as Viscountess. Violet assures her of her potential and plans to settle in a dower house once found. Kate appreciates the support, reflecting on her Indian upbringing, where mothers remain integral even after their daughters' weddings. Lady Danbury joins them, discussing the festivities and the Queen's withdrawal, attributing it to past misjudgments resolving positively. Prudence recounts Jack's sudden departure without taking anything, leaving Lady Cowper hoping for a more principled successor. Portia reveals Jack's document bequeathing the estate to her daughter upon producing an heir. Colin approaches Penelope, expressing his joy at seeing her after what feels like ages. He notes the changes since then, finding her as distinguished as ever. He inquires about Eloise and Cressida, but Penelope withdraws silently. Philippa questions Portia's delayed revelation regarding the heir's identity. Portia defends her discretion considering their married status and their expected roles. Penelope clarifies the heir's lineage, prompting Prudence's disbelief over Penelope's inclusion. Philippa and Prudence envision changes to the estate's management, with Portia redirecting them to their immediate task of securing the heir. Penelope lies awake, ultimately inspecting her wardrobe. Penelope confides in Genevieve, expressing her desire for a drastic change and the urgency to leave home, especially if her sisters assume household leadership. Marriage seems to be her only escape route. Genevieve inquires about a potential suitor, prompting Penelope's preference for someone kind and respectful of her privacy. She requests a Parisian-inspired makeover. Gregory admires Colin's gift, a bow and owl for Martial, with Hyacinth appreciating perfume from Paris. Benedict notes the Spanish inscription on his cards, hinting at Colin's travels across France and Spain. Francesca shares her Italian sheet music, and Colin, overwhelmed by his journey, refrains from further gifts to avoid Violet's disapproval. As they exit, Violet enters, querying Francesca's location and accepting Colin's gift, a pocket watch. Eloise arrives for her purse, declining Colin's book gift in favour of reading Emma. Colin inquires about Eloise's newfound friendship, surprised by her bond with Cressida during summer. Eloise defends Cressida's kindness amid society's challenges, admitting her separation from Penelope post Lady Whistledown's expose. Eloise acknowledges conceding the past season's battle and aligning with the winning side. Violet, Francesca, and Eloise enter the Modis, where Eloise and Penelope's initial encounter is awkwardly tense. Penelope sends Ray ahead, hoping they might cross paths. Eloise doubts Penelope's intent after their countryside avoidance, suspecting Penelope's fear of exposure. Penelope appreciates Eloise's discretion, offering an apology. Eloise interrupts. She doubts the sincerity behind Penelope's regret, calling the secrecy a burden. Eloise evades Penelope's defense, underscoring their divergent past and her newfound companionship with Cressida. She departs without addressing Penelope's query. Anthony, Benedict, and Colin relax at Mondrich's, with Anthony praising Benedict's estate oversight during his honeymoon. Benedict enjoyed the purposeful responsibility and now wonders about his role upon Anthony's return. Anthony hints at Benedict's marriage prospects, urging Colin to divert attention. Colin rejoices in his newfound admirers, inviting Will for a drink, suggesting Will postpones due to pressing business. Approaching Alice and Walter Dundas, Will offers a drink declined by Walter, who then reveals Lady Kent's demise. Alice recalls meeting her cold great aunt once, learning Walter's news of Nicholas Mondrich's inheritance. Nikki inherits Lady Kent's entire estate, bypassing closer relatives due to their lack of male heirs. Will and Alice are astonished. Newton barks, interrupting Anthony and Kate in their marital bed, and Anthony prioritizes their mission to conceive an heir, downplaying outside distractions. Kate insists on addressing the approaching Bridgertons, unnerved by their noise. Anthony asserts their duty but soon relents. Recalling Kate's role in their new home's management, he persuades her with a kiss. Lady Danbury's staff prepares for the Four Seasons ball. Penelope shares her intentions with Ray, preparing for a transformative change. At the ball, Lady Danbury welcomes the Bridgertons, and she views the first ball as a significant event. The Featheringtons follow, and Penelope is stopped by the butler, removing her cloak to reveal a stunning green gown. Even her family is surprised by her striking appearance, catching Colin's attention. Lord Garrett notices Penelope from afar, with Lord Lieber and Lord Barnell complimenting her ensemble. Penelope awkwardly accepts their praise, and Eloise finds it difficult to believe that Mrs. Hartigan genuinely enjoys embroidery. She lists all the things one can do with it, and Miss Halliwell joins her. Miss Kenworthy asks Eloise if she has a favourite stitch, and Eloise jokingly mentions the switch stitch, the one that changes the subject abruptly. After an uncomfortable silence, Barnell escorts himself and the other gentlemen away to avoid giving Lady Whistledown material to write about. Observing from above, the Queen inquires about one of the ladies and learns it's Penelope. Despite it being Penelope's third season, there are several new debutantes for the Queen to consider. The mummers are anxious because the Queen still hasn't yet chosen a diamond. The Queen remarks that diamonds are rare, so they should not expect one every year. Lady Danbury recalls that the Queen has only named one diamond thus far, and Lady Whistledown was correct about Daphne. Lord Basilio asks Francesca about her hobbies. She mentions playing the pianoforte to Lord Fife and Lord Houghton, who inquire further. Francesca explains that music occupies most of her time. Houghton asks about her beyond her hobbies, showing interest in getting to know her better. Francesca politely excuses herself, claiming her brother needs her attention, and seeks a moment alone with Anthony. Approaching Violet and Kate, Anthony reassures Violet about Francesca, explaining that she simply needed a break, and he desires one as well to dance with Kate. Francesca stands beside Penelope as they watch the dancers. Penelope encourages Francesca to dance again, noting how difficult it is to leave the wall once one has begun there. Francesca confesses she prefers the wall to the suitors she's encountered so far. She expected conversation but didn't anticipate scrutiny. Francesca dislikes attracting attention. Penelope remarks on Francesca's rarity compared to her siblings, who seem to be born to be noticed. Penelope herself feels different from her siblings and finds it challenging at times. Francesca compliments her siblings, and Penelope acknowledges her fortune in having such siblings and attention, even if it's not always easy. Penelope urges Francesca to join the dancers again to avoid being stuck on the wall. Penelope grabs an ice cream but winces upon tasting it. Lord Alfred Deblin checks on her, concerned, but she attributes her discomfort to a headache. He wonders if it's from the ice cream or the judgmental glances from the other ladies. Penelope admits she's accustomed to receiving such looks. Deblin teasingly suggests she's capable of giving similar looks herself, making Penelope self-conscious about the attention. As she attempts to leave, Cressida accidentally steps on Penelope's dress, tearing it. After a brief apology, Cressida mocks Penelope, who walks away without responding to Eloise's attempted apology. Passing Colin as she departs the ball, Penelope looks unwell. Colin expresses concern, but Lorne stands to question Colin's involvement. Houghton remarks on Colin's improved demeanour this season, prompting Colin to follow Penelope. Outside, a footman arranges for Penelope's carriage as she attempts to compose herself. Colin finds her and questions why she's leaving early, especially dressed so elegantly. Penelope assumes he's simply being polite and tries to leave. Colin points out her lack of chaperone, but Penelope dismisses it, considering herself a spinster. Colin insists she's not a spinster and mentions her third season on a marriage market without prospects. He asks if something is amiss between them, noting his unanswered letter from the summer. Despite few responses, she usually writes back. Colin admits to missing her, and when she confronts him about his past statement, he apologizes for her about the comments and never courting her. He proposes they find a more private spot, but Penelope isn't concerned about avoiding embarrassment, feeling like the Ton's laughingstock. Even after changing her wardrobe, she never expected Colin to be so cruel, and she walks away. Mr. Dundas visits and informs Portia that Jack has left town with their entire fortune. He presents a document signed by Jack bequeathing the estate to one of Portia's daughters upon producing an heir. Portia confirms the document's validity, and Dundas expresses surprise at the situation, questioning if her daughters are expecting. Portia assures him they hope for good news soon. Dundas emphasizes the Queen's unawareness of another male heir and the complications of transferring the estate to another family. He warns that if the document is proven forged before one of her daughters has an heir, he'll intervene. Portia assures him the document is genuine and he promises to return soon. Cressida remarks that she faces little competition this season except from Francesca, believing her actions towards Penelope sent a clear message. Eloise disapproves of Cressida's cruelty, considering it unnecessary. Reflecting on her own struggles to find a husband, Eloise suggests Cressida might find it easier if she was kinder. Cressida admits her difficulties, expressing her longing for friendship. And Eloise reveals she rejected Cressida's attempt at friendship during her debut, acknowledging her own unkindness. Cressida doesn't blame Eloise, recognizing she hasn't always been kind either. Regardless of Penelope's actions, she didn't deserve Cressida's mistreatment, and Eloise proposes they focus on themselves now. Anthony finds Kate at her desk and inquires about her meetings. She raises her concerns about his mother delaying her move and proposes extending their honeymoon instead. Kate notes Anthony's happiness away from managing the estate and suggests proposing their duties as Viscount and Viscountess. She expresses her sole interest in producing an heir, and Anthony kisses her and avoids discussing his mother further. Violet asks Francesca about her first ball experience, and Francesca finds it satisfactory, unafraid of the social events or finding a match. She admires what Violet and Edmund share, but is unsure if she needs the same. Violet encourages her to remain open to love if it crosses her path. Francesca agrees to see what happens, and Mrs. Wilson informs Violet that Kate is looking for her. Ray informs Penelope that Colin wishes to speak with her, and he apologizes for his earlier remarks and expresses concern for her well-being. Colin regrets causing her distress and explains he's changed since last season. No longer ashamed of their friendship, he admits to seeking her out at events because she makes him happy. Colin praises her intelligence and kindness, offering his assistance in finding a husband. Having travelled extensively over the summer, he believes his charm can be taught and offers to provide lessons. He wants to regain her favour, and they shake on the agreement before he departs. After a moment, Penelope hurries inside. Alice and Will arrive at the new estate with Nikki, Daisy and John. The butler welcomes Nikki and shows them inside, accompanied by Mrs. Carner. The Queen reads the latest Whistledown column, which criticises her for not choosing a diamond and speculates about her motives. She remarks on Whistledown's provocative style to Brimsley. Penelope attempts to take the new Whistledown from Prudence before she's finished. Philippa mentioned Whistledown's focus on the Bridgertons, especially Colin. Penelope dismisses any negative remarks about him, and Eloise reads the column before Colin enters. She tries to hide it, but ultimately gives it to him. The column questions Colin's authenticity and motives, referencing his treatment of Marina. Eloise condemns Whistledown's actions, prompting Colin to threaten retaliation if he discovers Whistledown's identity. That's it for the Bridgerton recap. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next recap.